Hi everyone, welcome in the new series BIM and Agile, hosted by the Agile BIM community. So I'm very happy to be today the host and to have as a guest Peder Aaby from Sparkel from Norway. So how are you doing, Peder?
Yeah, we're doing very fine. So it's a very sunny day here in Oslo, which is nice.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, we have also Sebastian Luca, my dear co-hoster. So welcome, Sebastian. How are you doing? That's good.
Hello, hello, hello.
So this is the first episode, and we're gonna talk about how AI can help to streamline the construction process. We're gonna focus on the takeoff process, and how AI can help to be more lean and to improve the process. And I will give my talk to the Peder to start the presentation. So feel free, Peder, to start, and welcome to all of you. And let's go. I think we can start.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Peder Aaby, here from Norway, born and raised. I have a background in cybernetics and robotics with specialization in artificial intelligence. And I started this company together with a construction engineer 2.5 years ago. So a bit early stage, but we're also starting to see some maturity where we have more than 100 data active users and essentially live off the revenue of the company. And this talk is going to be about like how to talk with your BIM models and why we fundamentally disagree that like better BIM models is what you need, which a lot of other companies and also internally preach. And I also very quickly want to just present like a live product demo here, just to start, like what are we actually talking about when we talk with the BIM models. Can you switch the screen, Bilen? To screen share?
You want you screen, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is like the platform. It's a cloud platform, and we are a cloud platform that we sell to cost estimators and contractors, and have customers in all continents and a lot of loving customers and active community. If you want to join, we are on Discord. You'll probably find us. And essentially contractors and cost estimators, they use artificial intelligence and more custom geometries and element attributes to adapt their BIM models to their usage. So right now, I'll just like very quickly show you how that's done. It's like what this opens up for is like anybody can do this without experience. But I can, for example, gross area of inner walls in the second floor. And this is a live demo. That's always interesting. But the point here is that like at this point, like everybody, especially at the contractors where not everybody necessarily are like heavy engineers, like suddenly everybody can access the quantities and the informations in the different BIM models and kind of get it. So then we can switch back to the presentation. So like what's actually happened here for the past years? Like it seems like large language models, which is a sub-part of artificial intelligence, I can mention. So a lot of the artificial intelligence we have is not large language models, but we have large language model support as well. But basically, like this is a very short example here, but previously also in 2016, if you translated some text to Spanish and then from Spanish back to English, you typically lost 50% of the information in the test, in the translation. And at the point today where we instead use something called neural machine translation, which is these new large language models, you can translate text back and forth with 90% accuracy. which means like we are almost there, that like translation is almost perfect, which is very interesting. And I'll try to go over how that maps to BIM models very shortly. Yeah, because like this is the situation that we see with BIM models in the market. So in our platform, I think we have over 10,000 IFC models. And all of these IFC models, they have elements with different properties and everything. And the thing is, like, I think I've never seen two of the same IFC models. They are all unique, and even when companies try to standardize them, we have worked with some companies that do heavy standardization of BIM models. Yeah, they still haven't succeeded. And it's like always these kind of nuances, at least, that you have, like sometimes you have different pair sets, like what's area, what's net area. What's area in this context? Is it gross area or is it net area? It's very hard for like a contractor to use. And also like the people that make these models, like architects, they don't really know the information that contractors are interested in either. So like what is like the basic solution here? Okay, so there's like a lot of unstructured information that contractors and cost estimators don't know and trust, to be honest. I think that's a very big problem in the market in general, because like they have had way too much experiences with information being mislabeled or faulty, essentially. And yeah, why don't we fix it by just creating better models? Like let's create a bunch of requirements, give them to the architect from the contractor, so they do a good job in creating like the data and everything that we need. And it's like two parts, as I mentioned. Like we have thousands of BIM models, but I've never seen two of the same. And that's because like every project is unique, and there are like certain unique requirements, no matter what you are building. So complete standardization is quite often attempted, but it doesn't always make sense. And like the big thing here is also that contractors have very different needs than architects and engineers. Like for say a architect to do like a takeoff, like how much gypsum do I need for this walls? Like it doesn't, like he have all the tooling for it, he have the experience in the software, and like it doesn't even make sense for him, almost the question. But for a contractor, like this is what they truly care about, like what are these walls, what are they built of, and how much is it of it, how much does it cost, and how much am I going to build today? So very different needs, which makes context for architects very hard to have. Like you can put hundreds of requirements on it, but they don't have the context, so they just technically satisfy the requirements we see quite often, which doesn't help the contractors at all. Yeah, and also like everything is even like exported by people. Like the export settings are wrong, so the models end up being weird. So just very quickly here, like we are currently in a situation where we kind of, when we model a building as an architect or an engineer, we manage to kind of, from the contractor point of view, we like there is a building, we can look at the geometry, like it's 80% there, but it's not 100%. And also when it's 80% and not 100%, it makes it actually kind of useless, because a building is like, it's not debatable, like there are certain things to be built, like I need it at a higher level, but putting all the constraints to get it at the higher level so I properly trust it, it costs a lot. Yeah, and yeah, what you see like right now is like quite often we get a lot of garbage in, like requirement change, architect change, and yeah, to be brutally honest, like we have talked with a lot of people that have worked with like 5D BIM, like also including like heavy cost estimation, like directly connected to the BIM model. But if you really talk to the people that have worked with 5D BIM in that kind of sense, then you're going to find out like, was it really big success, like that were a bit like maybe not, like it was a bit too hard. Yeah, and then why don't we standardize what I mentioned previously? Like way too many people. There are different architects and engineers for every project, and it's very hard to put on the hat. It's very hard for an architect to create the perfect model for a contractor. But like what's like the interesting thing here is that like in the 80% model that the architect and engineer created, like all of the information for the contractor, it is there. Like 99% is there. It just to give a very quick example, like when you model a wall, and as a contractor you want to know how much paint is on the wall. But like quite often you model a wall as something big that goes across different rooms, and for the contractor that doesn't make any sense because like you want to paint. And also like you put the properties and property sets on all these kind of different places, which is like it's very hard for, or requires technical expertise to kind of look through a BIM model. But that's where we kind of come into like what we call translation, which is basically, okay, we take this model from the architects and engineers, and all of the information that the contractor needs is implicitly there. So we try essentially to translate it to make it useful for a contractor. So this is just like a very basic example, but this is actually something we use machine learning for. But basically it's quite common, especially in IFC, that elements are mislabeled, or like there are export settings that made all of the Windows IFC proxy elements, or like made the entire model IFC proxy element. And some people managed to fix it, but the contracts actually did just want it to work. So essentially we have machine learning models that takes this and says it labels the models with like, no, this is a window, which is what the contractor actually care about. And also this is like actually in Norwegian here, like the properties, but like net area and net volume. But basically we can also, it is possible using large language models to essentially map all of the different property sets to a standardized format without standardizing the input format, which I think is very interesting. Which is what people use the AI, like the LLM, for in the product today. And also like here exemplified by PDF, but it's also like very possible to go from pictures to vision AI, like reading the documents and turning it back into more structured data again. And and we also have like the same functionality actually for BIM. Like we have quite extensive tooling to essentially like say create custom geometries, because as a contractor you are very interested in how much paint there should be on certain walls, but like you cannot model as an architect. It doesn't make sense. The detail level is too high, but the contractor wants to know it. So what we call in this context of this presentation, we call it translation. And essentially all it is about is like taking these kind of 50%, 80% data quality models from architects and engineers and kind of just dragging it up to almost 100% using extensive features for contractors and cost estimators to automatically and efficiently make the model and work with the model as they see fit. And we have a lot of AI capabilities doing this, but like also another big part of it is just like we give the full control to the contractor and cost estimator. Like it's possible to do essentially anything you want in Sparkle with a model. Create new geometries, create new attributes, split and extract those attributes. You can do it all. And this ended up as a quite short presentation, so feel free to ask questions afterward. But here are some very quick takeaways. So construction projects are inherently unique and unpredictable, which makes automation and standardization at scale very difficult. And yeah, and recent advances in machine learning AI has became, at least in many senses, it has been really good at interpreting unpredictable and unstructured data. Like when you put it all together, like it all makes sense, and you can give the output that the contractor wants anyway. So garbage in, garbage out doesn't always is not always correct anymore. And also like perfect models, like if you try to reach for like the 100%, where you kind of you invest a lot of money into creating the perfect model for the contractor with architects and engineers, like it doesn't. What we see is that it even doesn't work in practice because of the agency and context problem. You're creating something for a receiving part. So even though it tells you what you need, it's very hard to deliver because like you don't properly get it, so to say. Yeah. And yeah, we are also free to test the platform, which also I would highly recommend you try the AI. They're like AI in the sense of large language model. It is mainly there as an assistant. That might be nice to add. But we have also actually gotten it to work on like the test stage close to perfect. But I would also highly recommend, if you test the platform, test out the concept called Shapes, which essentially analyzes the geometry and helps you create custom geometries in the model, more for contractors and cost estimators. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. I have a question. I wanted to know, before to start Sparkel, what was the main problem that other solution you wanted to solve? What are the main problem that you wanted to try solution? And
so I think like the main problem here, it actually came from my co-founder, because my co-founder he created these models. He was the engineer. Okay. And he did that for 7 years. And then he just saw that he delivered something he thought always was perfect to the contractor. And like he found that to be like BIM is obviously like a big thing. It provides a lot of value. But then they always delivered what he thought was the perfect model to the contractor. And essentially you see that they end up just being out of talk, and like the contractors don't really like BIM models. That's like or they accept it, but and they like some are positive about it, but a lot of contractors don't like them because they don't trust them. So he basically wanted to make BIM work for contractors. That was the main motivation.
Okay, nice, thank you. We have a question from Pavel Kaleda. Thank you for the question, Pavel. The question is how you resolve hallucination because information from models should be precise. So we have a technical question. Thank you, Pavel, for the question.
Yeah, perfect, Pavel. Like this is my domain. So it's a great question. Like a building is inherently deterministic. Like there should be no hallucination in how to create a building. How we fix it is like the AI essentially works with a lot of custom algorithms, a lot of checks and balances and controls. So I could spend some time showing you, but essentially like you ask a prompt and the prompt generates filters for the app itself. And then the app itself is actually the thing outputting the information. So we can actually go in and edit the filters and edit what you wanted afterwards, because hallucination is an unsolved problem.
Okay, thank you for your answer. So if you have any question in the comment, feel free to ask. I don't see any question. Okay, and how, I will ask a question that I have. How are you seeing the things? How are you seeing Sparkel and the link between the BIM softwares and your platform? How you connect to the classic workflow, which is a model in Revit, ArchiCAD, or others softwares? How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, currently, like we are a startup, so we started quite early. And then, yeah, so we are a bit early stage. So the thing is, like, people get so much value out from adapting these BIM models that they're willing to even export it from Revit to IFC and import in our platform instead of even editing the model itself, even though they internally control the model. But essentially, like, IFC is meant to be an interchange format. So we support IFC, and then we can kind of snap up the models in all kinds of stages. So people use us in like the early stages, where the building is essentially a box in many ways, but also like in the late stages where you are more like the data quality of the models is very high.
Okay, so basically you're focusing on IFC and not is the focus is IFC, right? So not the native format for the native Revit or ArchiCAD and the closed BIM. Okay, nice.
Yeah,
so we have. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Thank
you. We started with IFC, but like the technology inherently supports Revit. So we're more thinking about when we are ready for the native market, and we see that a lot of our customers are. They actually also use Revit. They just think Sparkel is a more suitable tool for like the Revit is a great tool for designing buildings, but like doesn't hit it on the nail with like the needs of the contractor. And the contractor also needs easier user interfaces. It's not necessarily deep technical people that work with it.
Okay, nice. We have three questions from Guillermo Ortega. So the first one is, what is the primary source of models software platform? I think it's IFC. We have just, I mean, if I have good understanding of the question, what is the primary source of models software platform? I mean, I think it's IFC, right? So we just answered this question. And the second question, how you resolve the problem of adding needed parameters to the model according to PIR?
PIR stands for?
Guillermo, if you can give us more information about this system, but maybe we're going to switch.
Just some sort of standard. How do you resolve the problem of adding?
We have a second question from Guillermo. Does the solution work for DFMA, so design fabrication, acronym of design fabrication, management automation, or something like that? Yeah, I mean, it's about design fabrication, right, Guillermo? If you can give us more precision of what you mean of your acronym. But I mean, I think it's that. But I don't understand the question. Do you?
I can just start with the other question, like how do we...
according to ChatGPT, is designed for manufacture and assembly.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
But I can answer the other question, like how do we handle custom requirements? So essentially we have we can almost create your complete new BIM model in Sparkel. Even so, we have very strong like adaptability features inherently in the platform. They're very close to, I think, like Assemble. We in many ways we have like the full feature set of Assemble, I would say as well.
But how do you manage versioning of model? If an architect updates the model and then you already do some modeling in Sparkel, are you able to not lose your work?
That's actually like a core feature, model updates. And that's like super interesting. I want to talk a lot about that as well. But like, yes, if you persist the GUIDs, then everything also works afterwards. Like all of the adaptations you did, and also like as I said, like we have the concept of geometric shapes, where it also creates like custom geometry on top of the model, so to say. But like it also keeps its place. And what we're even looking into is actually using AI, because like something that's sorry to say if there is any architects here, like something that architects are quite often quite bad at, because this is not their job. They're often quite bad at making the UID is consistent across versions. It's
yes.
like a big, very big problem. It's like they don't have the training for it because it doesn't even. The thing is like.
The GUID, the origin of the model, or the
it has
ID
to
of
do
the
it has to do with the origin of the model. The thing is, like in practice, what you do, like when you want to move a wall in the design, then it's kind of like, as a human, it makes more sense to delete it and create like the new wall and take it shorter. But like the correct way in the more of the data modeling world is like taking the existing wall and dragging it. And that's but that's very hard in practice. So we are actually looking into artificial intelligence to kind of understand that these walls are the same because they have the same location and thickness, even though the GUID is no longer the same.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have a second question from Pavel Kaleda about, you said that your project can work with geometry. Can you say more about what it does about the geometry aspect here? Thank you, Pavel.
Yeah. Do I have like a... I can just show you in the product.
Yeah, I can make you,
Yeah, to see like the product. So we have this concept called shapes, which is basically like custom geometry for in models. It feels correct to call it geometry, but also it's what's used for like cost estimation in PDFs that we also support. But basically, you can see that I created with a click here. I created like a custom geometry that I can self-adapt. So after I created this, then now I actually have a new element that is completely valid in the Sparkle domain that I can use for the takeoffs, and I can do everything. It's like a very common use case for this is like, for example, you can see like this is like the showcase model from Autodesk. But you can see here, for example, like you have a wall and it goes across 3 stories. And like this might make sense for a contractor, but very much might not make sense. So what they typically do is like, okay, now I want to split this up. And then they kind of adapt it and use the new geometry as they want. And we're also implementing it is actually in the platform already. It's just hidden, getting released in a week. But basically, like, we're implementing also collision detection and creating this custom geometry. So when I clicked here, it would actually just be inside of this because, typically the geometries that the contractors want, they are restricted by the surrounding geometry. While this, what I'm talking about right now, doesn't make sense for architects. Yeah. But then I switch also to the tab.
And but it means that for contractors, they can use the geometry already existing in the model if it fits to them, and if it don't fit, they create a new one in parallel. No.
Yes, essentially. That's okay. That's what they do. Like, and if you are a contractor, you know that there's never the case where the model fits your needs perfectly. But like sometimes they extract the quantities from the model itself, and sometimes they just sit and purely use shapes to extract geometry or quantities for the entire model. It's quite fast when you know all the shortcuts and everything.
If there are contractors in the public, you can share your experience, your bad experience with a BIM model. It will be interesting for us.
Well, like, if I can share which contractors?
No. If in the people viewing this video, there are some people, contractors that work as a contractor, they can share in the comment because it will be interesting. As an architect, we don't imagine this kind of problem, so it's interesting.
No, exactly. Like, I think that's kind of like something. If there's a contractor or cost estimator, just throw it, because like this is like, I think this is like a hidden problem even for a contractor, for architects. Like, it's not like, did you? So this is me putting it a bit like up there, but like, did you know that the models you create are actually pretty useless for the contractor? Like, they will never tell you, but you kind of always see it with all of the, sometimes like all of the frustrating and weird requirements that you get. It's the contractors trying to fix it. But it's also just like a bit of frustration that like, why don't you read my mind? And just, which is impossible also. Yeah.
Practically, without your tool currently, what contractors are doing? They are building a new model from scratch, or they are using the BIM model from the architect and modifying it, or what they do?
So there's a bunch of workflows. We also have workflows for like, so there are actually like quite a few architects in our platform. So when architects are in our platform, for example, like very typically they get a model from the architects, they upload it into Sparkle, they show like things in Sparkle and create things in Sparkle and say like, okay, no, this is not possible, or like, can you adjust this? And like, is this a better proposal from like the construction point of view? They use it essentially for design reviews and collaboration.
Okay. To collaborate between architects and contractors. And,
yeah. Okay. So Sparkle is also used a lot for collaboration with between architects and contractors and consultants, but also contractors and subcontractors.
So you have I don't know, some feed, some a way to handle the discussion.
Yes. So what you can do is like, you can create a new element and add a comment on it and say like, is this a better solution?
Okay, but like, there is no workflow management like this is done, this is accepted or not, this kind of stuff. No, you don't have it.
We have a lot of those kind of features as well, like model conditioning, I think it's often called in.
Okay.
More.
But where it is in the app, when we make a comment, you could make a comment, for example, just to explain how it is.
Yeah, I can say, I can do like this, for example. Is this the correct properties for the roof? Yeah, and then I have like a comment there that I can see that's also attached to the model. And then I can also do it like I want, say, just like in this Windows takeoff, for example. I can also share it with external parties. So I can go here and I can share it. Actually, I'm not going to. I can share it to all of you in like a Google Docs link. And I can
a public link, or you need to invite people to the platform.
So there depends on the use case. Like we have, so sharing, you can share with a public link, for example. But like then we have to restrict the features quite a bit. Like it's view only, essentially. But like you can also, when architects are in our platform, they're quite often invited. That's more of a, like you are allowed to create comments, etc. Then you want like a different.
And is it possible to access this comment directly on the field with a how do you say, a mobile phone or a small device? You could do that, or it's not very adapted?
Right now, like we just fundamentally use adaptive kind of technology, but like PC is like the thing we consider supporting right now. And like the thing like essentially what people do in Sparkle is that they create these takeoffs and customize them by dragging.
So it's not so much for the construction phase itself, but the preparation of the construction, the engineers that prepare the construction stage.
Yeah, so it's actually used in both, like in both, like more of the cost estimation, but like it's very. There are a lot of so I said like contractors don't like BIM. That's not all true. a lot of people try to extract value out of it, and they, for example, use it for invoicing. That's like a very typical use case. Today I built these walls, so I'm going to invoice for the quantities of these walls.
Okay.
And then they do that also continuously with Sparkle, and even with like the shapes concept, where they select like the part of the wall that they built, and then they do a quantity takeoff, and then they press share and they send it to the building owner or who's paying the bill.
There is a new question from a Chinese user, or I don't know. And is there an API for?
Yes. So the thing about the platform, like the AI is like it's new, it's like half year old, but yes, we have we have some basic API endpoints for like model uploads and similar. We don't have API endpoints for extracting the data yet. Then we instead use the standard in the construction industry, which is Excel. So you can export all your data to Excel sheets. But we also plan to expose the data through APIs in the future, so we can more seamlessly connect with other CDs and platforms.
Yeah, because the connection with Excel, it means that every time you need to do some manual export to Excel, or you have it's possible to automate the process to have an Excel sheet automatically updated or something like this.
Great question. So yeah, Sparkle has so many like hidden powerful features, but basically, like you see a very basic table here. But basically, this also has like full Excel support. So this is like also a hidden feature. Like we have a actually quite advanced formula interface that supports something called Math.js that can be used in like so in this area I can just do gross area times 2. Gross area times 2. And like this is a basic example, but you can even do like these calculations on individual element level. You can multiply it by cost. So the thing, like a very recent news for us is that like I would never have imagined this, but like I like a cost estimator consultant. But then are you in Germany, like the de facto standard for cost estimation is I2, they're called. Have you heard of them?
No. What's that? It's a software or what?
It's a software. It's called I2.
I2.
ITWO. It's like the de facto solution for cost estimation of construction projects in Germany. And they have a lot of features that we don't have. But still, a company in Germany on their own initiative are now actually working on removing I2 in favor of Sparkle, because Sparkle has so many customizable, more deeper features that they are basically able to build up their entire cost estimating process in only Sparkle.
Yeah, have you got some price data about to be able to do some pricing?
Kind of not like directly in that way. That's one of the larger features we are missing from that use case.
Yeah.
So why they decided to go for Sparkle, even though that's like obviously a big miss. So that's something we're actually talking to them about, because like we want to figure it out. But they're more they like the platform so much that they are actually willing to take on the pain of.
But maybe there are some services with APIs that you could connect with the price information. I don't know if
I think like how they do it, like they have all of their data in. Oh, they actually put prices in Sparkle as well. But they basically, I think they essentially add all of the cost manually, because they like all of the other features of the platform so much. So it's absolutely not unlikely that we integrate cost databases in the future.
I have I have a question. How do you see the future regarding BIM and AI developments? What are your thoughts on this subject?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we also actually see we work with a lot. We actually also work a bit with generative AI. That's like obviously like a very big thing. Like a lot more is going to be generated by AI. We see like what we do is like we say we translate the model. So we take like the model and we make it useful for the contractor. But we also do actually like generate a lot of stuff or like the information is kind of there, but like you can say like in the same way you can generate a building and the information is how tall it is. So we generate a lot in between as well. That's going to be a big thing, but at the same time, I think like designing for architects is like it is fundamentally a human exercise. I can't. I worked many hours with artificial intelligence, and I think I talk to GPT about 4 hours a day on average. That's how I developed the platform. I talk to GPT and it does stuff for me. But I'm definitely not like useless as a software developer either, even though I'm actually just talking to GPT and making it write most of our software. I think like something similar is going to happen here. Like you get like some sort of model, some sort of software that you talk a lot to, but then you have to adapt. You have to think critically. Like a very common thing is like requirements are not clear, which is something AI like it doesn't solve unclear requirements, for example. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff. But we also see like how much generative AI can do. So basically, like the generative AI project we have, which is very down scoped, but it's basically like, hey, we have a square. How do we make that a roof? So
how do we make what?
We have a PDF or like some drawings of a building, and it's basically like it's a roof material supplier that essentially they want us to generate roofs automatically. So we use artificial intelligence to read the descriptions of the building, and then we have artificial intelligence that reads the drawings, and then essentially we use that information to generate a complete roof solution.
To generate some 3D volumetry or some what? What do you generate?
It's essentially like a cost estimate in many ways, but it also includes a full roof design, which is again used for the.
And do you use open source AI model for that, or what type of technology do you use for your AI technology?
Like we use everything. We're not particularly biased to, like we use the best. So for reading documents, like GPT-4, that was the de facto standard. Many months, like a lot of people claim to have competitors to that model. I think that's all bullshit.
We have in France, we have a French competitor named Mistral. I don't know if you know about it.
Yeah, like Mistral is maybe the one that kind of got close, but sorry, but like GPT, I've used it so much. So like for me, like nobody came close with GPT, and maybe Google actually did this time. Like this time it may be real. So we used GPT for a lot because it has for reading documents specifically, because it has like a certain reasoning capability. That's something that's heavily debated in AI circles, but like.
So you use a Vision API to view and understand the map which is in PDF, no, something like this, or only in text document.
We use GPT-4 for text documents, and we use something called the segment anything model from Facebook to read the drawings.
Okay, so for drawings you use other technology.
Yeah, we use another technology. I can go on for forever because like it's very interesting with like something that they OpenAI, for example, is working on like the multi-modality, where it's the same. Like reading the drawing and talking to the text is the same. But like again, like it was previously mentioned here, like you have the hallucination problem. Like the AI also makes up stuff. That's quite common.
We have another question. Do you think it is possible to explain to AI which building is designed correctly and whether all the rules are followed? After all, this can be conveyed only in text. I understand for the construction code, I suppose, about the construction code.
After all, yes. I'm going to say yes, Pavel. I think that's that seems like also one of the very like not so a big challenge right now is like when people talk about AI, it's like everything. Like the new thing is large language models. The thing you are describing, Pavel, it's you can't only use language models for that, but is it possible? Yes.
Yeah, to me, I know a few projects that work on construction code, and I think one of the challenges is to gather all the data depending of the country, because each country has a separate construction code. So first, you need to understand the geometry, and secondly, you need to have access to the data, and the data need to be stored in a way that is compatible with AI research, I think. So it's feasible, but currently I know a few projects, one in Switzerland, one in the US. So it's every time it is a country-based project.
Yeah.
But this is only for research. The project I know is you can type a church in the code. Is it allowed to do that? But there is nothing related to understanding a map or geometry to map with the code itself.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's only going to be like that's kind of what we're working on here as well, more in the contractor stage, but like understanding the building in a more like combining the properties, the geometry, the requirements, like the corpus of data that is like building requirements that not necessarily. I think it's good. For me personally, that's I think it's a matter of time, but it can take
time. But there is for example, in Switzerland, I think it's or in France, I don't know. There is some countries where you need to pay for to have access to the construction code.
Yeah.
So if you use the AI and this paid data, are you allowed to do it or not? I don't know.
That's so the tricky what OpenAI does is that they don't tell what they're trained on.
They just do it.
They just do it. But they're also getting sued by New York Times right now. Even though they're admitted to training on New York Times, but it's like
they have a good legal service to handle this issue.
But I like that. I think that's going to be like we haven't trained our AI on building codes, but we're very much like. But we also see like a very big advantage of working with IFC models is that they like IFC is like quite an open format. So the AI is actually it knows what an IFC model is and how it's structured. Like it's actually trained on a lot of data. So we have been very surprised about how much the AI is able to do without us training it.
You mean which one, ChatGPT or
GPT-4 in this case?
Because I did a few tests by uploading some IFC file. Maybe I didn't know what to ask, but I was a bit disappointed.
But that doesn't work at all.
Okay.
Maybe, but like that's And what I think is very funny, because I think this is a great point, because from when I say talking with your BIM models, and I share this on LinkedIn and like a lot of people think that we upload IFC models to GPT-4. But I like that doesn't work, and I think it will never work.
Okay. So what do you do?
Yeah. No, so I get quite technical here. So it has a lot of understanding of an IFC model. It understands that a window is IFC window, or that wall can be IFC wall or IFC wall standard case. That's what it understands. But like we have more trained the AI on the platform itself. So AI understands the human context. It understands a lot about us. And then it understands how our intents map to filters for searching in the BIM model. And then the platform itself does the searching after the... So it creates filters. It doesn't create brand new data. The AI here.
You mean that we explain it what we want, and after it filter in the data of IFC data what is interesting and relevant?
Yeah, that is what it does. It looks up the IFC data. So it actually behaves a bit... I think like what we have... are you... That's probably a bit too advanced. So in artificial intelligence, there is a concept of agent. And the concept of agent is essentially a large language model that you allow to operate on your own. So basically, you tell the artificial intelligence I want to be rich, and then it tries to make you rich by thinking of itself. You can try. Doesn't work. But what works is what we have done here is that we have... I think this is the kind of the implementation of agent that works, where you kind of we ask it actually... So the AI itself actually looks up in the data of the BIM model. So what actually happens here when I ask it something is that it say Windows by type. Going to assume work. But right now it's actually like interpreting this query, and it's fetching all of the windows from the BIM model. Okay. And filtering them on the properties that it finds interesting. So it works like quite yeah, and also defaults to this like yeah. But it is actually it talks with itself and the BIM model for like 3 iterations, and I think like 3 is like the informal limit there. Like you can make the AI do 3 meaningful operations on its own if you really hold on to it. Like if you try to do 4 operations, then it falls apart.
Okay.
Yeah, and also like when you are working with deterministic data, such as a building model, especially like a building model that is to be built. Like one thing is the design when you're more open, then it can be more generative. But like this is the building model. This is also to be built. Like don't make up new windows here.
Yes,
so we have a lot of layers to kind of enforce it to like though. Yeah, there are 24 windows here. That's not open for interpretation. But itself. Yeah,
from a novice point of view. You talk about 3 steps or so on, but for me, you just make 1 step. No, I want a window and get window, but behind the scenes, it's more complex than that, I suppose.
Yeah, there are, yes. That's like, I think, yeah. So it does, it looks like 1 step, it does 3.
Okay. There is another question from Pavel who asks if you have problem with token limits. So I suppose to talk to ChatGPT API or OpenAI API maybe?
we had a lot of problems before the 128K limit. Now I'm very technical here. Yes. So the thing is, like, I actually made the at least like I actually made like the filtering AI almost perfect, which we haven't released. That can do much more complex queries and almost always. Well, the thing was that like it's when I made it perfect, then it started to, because it is an agent, so it self decides what to do. Then it started to overflow itself with information. So like the answer is, in the current implementation, yes, we are within token limits. But when I made it like a proper perfect AI, then we actually, like, the limitation there was the token limits and the filtering of the data. So I'm waiting more for the next generation with higher token limits or better reasoning before I release the perfect AI. But it was good. Like, it crashed into token limits, so like it doesn't work for like a release to customers, but it was impressive.
Okay, maybe we are going to finish if there is no other question. I don't know what do you think. You have some what maybe to have a perspective. What are the next step in this application? What do you want to do next?
Yeah. So we have actually quite a few loving users. So actually, like, the closest next thing for us is like a bit work on our communication and making the features easier to use, essentially, because they are so valuable for our loving customers. But we see that too few people get going. But the next step after that is more actually large-scale automation. So I showed you I created like a shape on the roof here. And I did like the roof. I did some minor adaptations on the roof very manually. Like doing full-scale, like we can do that for the entire building, like in one click. So I think like generating more full-scale detailed design will actually also be quite close in the product. Like generating paint areas for all of the building. Yeah.
This demand, for example, it comes from your users, or is something you think will be useful for them? Or?
No, we actually, like, it's a combination, but we are mainly community driven. So we have like a small but very active community that reports bug and feature requests and all of their use cases and everything.
So mainly with the Discord channel you exchange with this community, or with other channel?
I can see if I have like the link here. So yeah, like if anybody wants to join here, or I'm not going to spend a lot of time.
If you can share.
So I'll just text this page as well, I think. Yeah, so it's like a very small community, but very active, I would say. I feel like it's very funny because I think we have like it's like 50, 60, 70 people in our community. But there's like a community that is a database technology with like it has like 10,000, 20,000 users in their Discord also. But it's like almost like our community is actually more active. Because
what is important is to be active, but
exactly.
Discord is a tool that maybe for someone they are not used to, but maybe it's okay. I don't know.
I think like I think a risk we're taking in using Discord is I would say like 90% of our customers will never go on our Discord server. But the thing is like, but the people kind of selling even the product internally, our champions,
they are more geek and they know
they
this
are like a bit more geeky and they like new technology, so they are the people that we also want to reach on the Discord. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great presentation. Thank you, Peter, and I wish you a good adventure in the development of this app.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you very much, everybody. And we will see in the next. There is a last question, maybe. How do you guys integrate the BIM model by Autodesk Revit with AI? Could you give me the procedure of doing it according to your experience? Okay, it's a big question. I don't know if it will be easy to understand.
I can very quickly. So very broadly, just to kind of capture it, like we make the AI create filters. That's
filters. So
yeah, that's essentially how you do it. You don't like if you're more talking like more generative design through LLM, that's another entirely different. I would say that that's more on the creative part. It doesn't have that much to do with buildings right now. Maybe it enters the building market.
Okay. Thank you. And so in this channel, we are going to make more video of this kind, probably more interview of other app using AI in the AEC industry. So if you want to attend the next event, please subscribe to this channel and you will be notified. Okay, thank you everybody, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.